It's time to let's talk. All right, so we've seen this thing dropping all over the internet, the social medias, and everything called a Steam Deck. Now, this is basically a portable PC, or what is trying to be claiming to be a portable PC. Steam is making something to where you can run your Steam PC library on it. Very similar to Switch. This thing has back paddles on it. Like what? So what is it? Where? How much does it cost? What's the specs of it? We're gonna dive all into this thing. I think it's actually kind of a nice little piece of gear that they're putting together here. It's got all kind of your bells and whistles that you could like really ask for, including like dual analog sticks, touch pads, D-pad. Um, your face buttons are there, back pals even, nice little rubbery grip on it. So again, let's get into exactly what the whole package deal of this thing is, and whether it's worth it or not. We're gonna do some price checks and everything. So let's get into this. So we have the Steam Deck, as you can see right here, L1, R1, L1, R1, L2, R2, all that. So Xbox style analog sticks. It has the concave instead of the dome. Back paddles on here for even extra buttons and everything. So when you're trying to do like shooters or something, it might actually work decent. The sticks are not little nubs like the Switch has. It's actually these look like regular actuator analog sticks that are on the controllers and everything. Of course, power button, possibly a charging cable or something. Your Steam button, your options button there. I'm guessing that the front end of that has two touch pads. So basically, like the Steam controller had, where you could do the two different touch pads for your thumbs, right here and right here. Overall, this seems pretty good. So let's get into the tech specs. Of course, everybody wants to know. So it's a 7-inch screen. Okay, that's a little bit small. That's a little bit small. I think that's the exact same size as the Switch. So I know that this is about double the weight of the Switch. But if you're getting all these different features and everything, so quick access track pads, dual track pads on it, left and right speakers, a Steam button probably to get into your Steam library. What I'm thinking is this thing runs the Steam Big Picture mode, and then quick access. So that's probably going to be like a bottom bar, kind of like the consoles have, or your sidebar, whichever one they want to go with. Volume controls, status LED, so if it's powered on, if it's powered off, charging, whatever. Type C port, so this is your USB port where you could probably plug it into the computer, download stuff onto this if you wanted to. So Type C port is very crucial into what you might be able to do with this thing. We'll get back to that though. Volume buttons, headphone jack, so if you wanted to plug this thing into your mixer, you could probably do it that way and whatnot and have no problem at all. One of my main questions for being a content creator and streamer is how hard is this thing going to be to stream with? Is there going to be any built? There's probably not going to be anything built in for like streaming software built into this, but I would say this might be somewhat easy-ish to hook up to a capture card and do it that way. So back pals, which in all honesty, I kind of love that this. Can this just be standard with every single controller? Can we just get at least two back pals or two back buttons, whatever, on every single controller? So micro SD expansion slot, very cool, very cool. AMD APU. So as far as what I know about this, I've seen a couple different videos on all the stat sheet and everything. I watched like Digital Foundry. If you will indulge for a second here, so Digital Trends, much more powerful than we thought per a spec correction. So this spec sheet right here had a correction on it, which was to clarify, now states that the Stream Deck has a quad channel 32-bit memory with a bandwidth of 88 gigs. Originally, the site said that it was a dual channel with 44, so that doubles the power of the data transfer rate. And this is, data transfer rates are huge, especially when it comes to game streaming, like sandbox games and such. data transfer rates is the reason why Cyberpunk didn't work on the baseline consoles, but it was running mostly just fine on the PS5, Series X, and PC. Um, that was a huge part of it because there was so much data trying to be transferred through the game engine onto the screen that basically the baseline consoles couldn't keep up with that. So if you were to try and run something like a Cyberpunk on this thing, I'm not quite sure what the bandwidth data is for the current day consoles, but you might be able to get away with this on lower end settings. Once again, we'll get back to settings wise and everything. Something I am very interested in with this. So yeah, you're oh, so it's not actually big picture mode. It is like basically it's just full screening the app that you can download, the Steam app that you can download on the PC. First announced, people divide technical specs. Initially, the Steam Deck would be more powerful than the Switch's 25 gig data flow, but would be outpaced by even some laptops. Laptops have around 68 data transfer, which would mean that Steam Deck would be less powerful hardware fully dedicated to gaming. So this might be a little bit more so than your standard laptops that you would see on. So as soon as it started saying that, so my first initial thoughts on these stats right here, I was definitely AMD APU, which is basically an AMD. So the RDNA 2 chips, CUDA core. I'm pretty sure this is up to 1.6 teraflops. Okay, so this thing is like a basically like Digital Foundry said it was basically like an Xbox Series S. Very true. Very true. For these stats right here, it might even be a slight ahead of that if it is double the processing power that is in there, or double the data flow. A 64, a 256, or a 512 in this day and age. So I heard one person say there's like no reason to own this. Now there is. There actually is. If you run old school gaming on this thing, so if you have a Steam library full of like old school Final Fantasy games, or like old PlayStation 1 classics and such that have made their way on through remasters and such, then this will do you just fine. If you do a lot of, if you want to maybe, I guess I'll get ahead of myself a little bit here, but if you want to flip out the operating system, run Windows on the unit, and run like emulators, like Dolphin emulators, PlayStation emulators, Sega emulators, whatever, then yeah, 64 gigs can get you started with that. I would definitely do an expansion card and put all the games on expansion card and do it that way, but this would be a solid way of doing something like that. Modern day gaming, something like okay, Control. I don't even know if you'd be able to fit that on there. If you did Jedi Fallen Order, that's pretty much all you'd be playing. Hades, on the other hand, you would be able to get away with doing it. Dead. I forget what that was. I forget what the name of that one is, but I know that game is kind of indie-ish and it's got a little bit lower end graphics to it. So like stuff like that, like Among Us, a Hades, a what's that, other low end, like indie titles that are like 16-bit kind of looking graphics on them. That stuff would fit perfectly on here. Or maybe even your like roguelikes or MMOs. If you got a good enough, stable enough connection on here, MMOs are very, very small file sizes. So there is a reason that you could end up having a 64 gig, but the main thing though is this SSD right here. So I can tell you from personal experience of changing from a regular HDD to a SSD on my main gaming rig. As soon as you install the SSD, games run so much smoother. It's just, you got way faster data transfer rates on that. So 256 of especially NVMe. Oh my God, this does not want to highlight right. There we go. 256 NVMe SSD. That's a pretty good one to go with, like your Samsung. Those little Samsung internal memory storage drives that everybody's been throwing into like the PlayStation, PS4s, and a lot of the Xbox Ones. That's the equivalent of what that is basically. So 512, if you're doing like AAA titles, you're definitely gonna want like a 512 gig. If you're doing mid range, like AA titles to indie games and everything, you could probably get away with 256. But that SSD, like I said, is gonna help you out a lot. So your standard face buttons, they kind of went with Xbox controls right there, which is fine. That's whatever. D-pad. That D-pad, I will definitely say that D-pad doesn't look the greatest. Can we get the actual? Yes, this is what I wanted. So this D-pad right here probably not going to work the greatest for fighting games. These sticks will probably work pretty good. They are definitely, yeah, okay. So we can kind of get a sense of how big the analog stick tops are. It's got gyro in it too. Nice. So it's got like this 6-axis, as Sony likes to call it. But gyroscope is built into it too. So that's pretty cool. I don't think you can take the if you could take the side pieces off and make it into like 3D view, that'd be really cool. I don't think you can though. No, it's built onto the unit. Trackpad, so 7-inch touch screen. Of course, everything has a touch screen with it nowadays, but 7-inch touch screen is pretty much the same as, if I'm not mistaken, it's the same as the Switch. I'm pretty sure the Switch is a 7-inch display, also a 6.2 inch, so it's 1 inch bigger. All right. Let's see here. HD haptics. So what that means is you're going to have the same rumble functionality that is built into the Pro controller on the Switch. You're going to have it built into the actual units on this. Everything's starting to use HD haptic feedback, and I love it because it is great. 25.5 or 32.5 millimeter square trackpads of haptic feedback. So the trackpads do look a little bit small, as you can see. You don't have your whole thumb is going to fit on top of this trackpad. So you're going to be basically doing, like the tips of your thumb is going to be what's trackpad, not. It's a very small unit though. That's the reason why. So thumbsticks definitely seem to be, again, best in class thumbsticks with capable touch sensor built in, provides a level of precision. I have been stressing so hard that all the new controllers coming out, I really just want one without L3 and R3 on it. If you're playing a shooter and you're trying to use a controller, you end up pushing in on the R3 button on your right analog stick and you start knifing and such. That's the reason why everybody's starting to, like, games are starting to do a default now where basically you crouch on R3. So then you end up basically start teabagging while you're trying to have a gunfight. If you just take those damn buttons out of there and just add it onto the back like this is right here, that'd be great. I just want to see the controllers do that in the future. That's very 60 FPS. Doom Eternal. I mean, like I said, the analog sticks are up, off, and it is like full-on analog sticks. It's not the little nubs that we see on the Joy-Cons. The Joy-Con, I mean, it's cool that the analog sticks are there on the Joy-Cons for the Switch, but let's be honest, they don't work effectively enough to be like competitive on the Switch, or really be comfy, really. Because I can tell you right now, my thumbs start aching after a couple hours. If I'm going with those little bitty analog sticks. I did a few rounds of Fortnite on those analog sticks. Actually, I did a few rounds of Apex too, and it was just like my thumbs were not. They just didn't fit on the controller the right way. Other people have different size hands. It all depends on you, but for me, I kind of like these. They look like bigger analog sticks. They look like regular, the full size analog sticks that you would see on a regular controller like that. Which is good. Fast storage, hi-fi audio, 40-watt batteries, probably not the best. 6-axis gyro, again, that's pretty cool. So a 16:10 aspect ratio. So 16:9 is your basically your modern day equivalent of like a standard size screen. 16:10 is like a little bit wide of a screen. You can end up having, the black bars on the sides because of that. It's basically like a cell phone screen. That's what that aspect ratio is. Optically bonded IPS LCD for enhanced readability. Okay. 7-inch diagonal, 400 nits, typical, right? So the brightness is gonna, if you take this outside, you're gonna be able to see it, but you're gonna want some shade over top of it. Refresh rate of 60 hertz, that's great. Your battery's gonna drain like crazy because it's 60 hertz, but that's really good though. Touch enabled, yes, because everything is touchpads and it's touchscreen. Ambient light sensor. Not quite sure what that's supposed to be all about, but okay. Bluetooth, which is great for controller connection and headsets and such. If you got wireless earphones, then they should connect real well. Wi-Fi, if you're in the range of Wi-Fi, 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi is going to be great. So if this thing is docked, you're going to want possibly USB-C input and 5 gigahertz. If you want to play anything like, competitively online with this, then definitely you're going to want that full-on nice connection. Does this thing also have, so let me keep going, and if I could find the docking bay, that's going to be a very important piece too. So if you want to use this thing not on the go, but as like I don't want to have to spend so much some odd amount of money. Like, this is a $300 unit, and you're going to basically, you're looking at 2-in-1 laptop computers for the same price, with the same kind of quad core. These are 11-inch, which the other one is 7. The Steam Deck is a 7-inch. So you're roughly in the same ballpark figure of $300 for a lot of these like 2-in-1 laptops. That's what this thing is equivalent to. Now, are 2-in-1 laptops made for gaming? No, this thing is. So it's more powerful than the Switch, which also comes out to be in roughly about $300. Depending on, no matter where you go, everything is about $300. But it's the unit that, you want the hardware that can support what you're trying to go for. If you're looking for a lot of gaming, this thing is going to support it a lot more than possibly even your Switch. And there's ways of doing it. You can make Switch games work on this also. If you could dual boot a Switch OS onto this, there's your Switch games. Everything that you got bought, and you could end up possibly copying over to it. But anyways, stereo, dual microphone array. Okay, so if you're trying to do comms online, then this thing has you covered also. 3.5 stereo. So it's got the regular, it's not USB like most of phones nowadays. It's actually like your actual, the 3.5 millimeter jack. Multi-channel audio via DisplayPort over USB-C. Okay. So this thing is trying to connect to your TV via USB-C or something? We'll see. Input 45 watt charging. Gotcha. Expandable. SD. Supports SD, SDXC. Okay, so it's a regular micro SD card slot. That's basically what that's saying. USB-C with DisplayPort 1.4. If you take like a Samsung phone, you plug it into if you have a USB-C to HDMI adapter cord, then that's what pretty much this is. It's the same type of thing. 8K 60, 4K 120, USB 3.0 to Gen 2. That's pretty good. That's actually really good right there. Software, SteamOS 3.0. So like I said, it's pretty much the Steam, platform thing there, the Steam storefronts and your game library software that you use, your launcher. There we go. HDMI 2.0 display ports. Wait, so this is the dock. Okay, so the dock has an Ethernet port built in. Okay, this dock is already better than the original version of the Switch dock that everybody has right now. USB 3.1. That's pretty good. And then 2 more USB. So you got 3 USBs in here, a display port, and an HDMI. So you have like pretty much the full thing that you would have on your graphics card and on your like motherboard for a computer. You have in this package deal. This is a good dock. In all honesty, HDMI 2.0 though. So you're gonna have to run a DisplayPort to run your games at full on 120 FPS. Peripheral, Ethernet, USB-C, delivery pass-through input. Okay, so yeah. What's saying is USB power delivery pass-through. So just like the switch where you plug it in via the USB port and boom, and it pops up onto the screen. It's the same thing. That's what that's saying. Overall, I would take this over the Switch. In all honesty, I would take this over the Switch. You have so much more you can do with this thing. Okay, so I guess the next piece and part of this, we are 20 minutes into this video, so I'm gonna try and make this a little bit quickish. But the next piece and part is, what would I use this for? Again, what I would do is I would actually boot up Windows, and I would boot up like the Steam app for like your normal Windows usage, and I would do it that way. And then just pretty much use the Steam library off from that Windows, or use emulators if you have, if you want to do old school gaming, you can do it that way. And then run your so through your Steam app, you can actually run like your PlayStation controller. But then Windows has full support for Xbox controllers. So no matter which way you go about it, if you have extra controllers lying around, you already have a game console and you're looking for something. So what the main thing for this is, if for everyone who only has consoles and does not have a computer to play their game library on, this would be great for you guys. If you already have a computer, there's no reason for you to own this. There really isn't, unless you want to take your games on the go. Like you have a long subway, ride, or you have you're riding the L or something. That's the only time, or you have like a long distance to travel for some reason or other. You're not going to get car sick by looking down. That's the only reason why I would say taking this on the go. Or if your TV decides to poop out on you, then you have like the built-in screen. So the fact that you can actually use multiple operating systems on this, and it's not limited down like the Switch is, makes this way better. I think the design of it is a little bit better. You got more features in this thing than what the Switch does. Of course, Nintendo with the Switch is to not really take on, but just to keep up with the console gaming market. Do I think Steam is going to start making games for this thing? No. Steam, what this whole thing is trying to do is basically get you to come into this right here, and it's to get you to come into this app right here and buy more stuff from their storefront. That's what this whole thing is pretty much being pushed for. So you can take all your library and well, not take it on the go, but if you had a PC ever and you have a Steam library, then this is to get you back into it, so you buy more stuff on the Steam storefront. Again, this is more or less, I think this is more or less like a console that you can take on the go if you want to. It's like a 2-in-1 laptop. It's like one of these things, except for it's built for gaming. So it's got all the bells and whistles. If you can connect an extra external controller to this, which if you are running Windows on this thing, you should absolutely be able to plug an Xbox controller into this and run it no problem at all. My other thing is too, options. Like you should have the full version, like a PC version of the game running on there. So you should be able to do, in theory, you should be able to go in and customize settings in games, or load up mods into your games also on this thing. So there's a lot of options that you could have with this thing. That's the reason why I'm like, man, this is kind of getting my attention way more than the Switch, because all your options that you have, there's multiple platforms of games you can get on this thing. You should be able to customize the games with mods and also graphics settings. So if you ever watch my gameplay videos and you see I go into the graphics settings on PC especially, and I turn off the motion blurs, I turn off the lens effects, I might turn down shadows a little bit, turn up shaders, but turn down shadows a little bit. Like all those customizations that normally is cut off from the console, you can probably do with this thing. So that is actually really cool in my book. Outside of that, could you get competitive on this thing? if you have this thing directly plugged into the wall via the power source and via the Ethernet cable on the dock, I would say yes, because this thing is probably powerful enough to actually be able to run competitively on games. So if you're looking for something for maybe your Fortnite fix, your possibly even Warzone, you could probably even run on this thing. Or I know Warzone's really hacked right now, but any game like your fighting games and such, if you plug in an Xbox controller, boom, you have your fighting games right there and everything too. There's a lot of possibility that could be done with this. Or if you are just looking for something that I don't know if. So it's AMD parts. I don't really think you're going to be able to have a whole lot of ray tracing capability with this. I know the PlayStation and the Xbox can do it, but you're not going to have ray tracing capability to say the point of like a NVIDIA GeForce graphics card or something. You know, it's not going to be that top end. I don't know if DLSS would work on this either. So your frame rate it could be stuttery. Like that's the thing. We have to wait to see test drive this to see what's exactly capable. Yeah, but it's got my attention. It's very very intriguing what this thing is going to be capable of. Would I sell a Switch to pick this up? In all honesty, with the amount of options that should be built into this thing, again, I don't think we've officially seen anything. This thing is coming out in December, I'm pretty sure of, because it said, yeah, Steam Deck will be starting at $400. Starts shipping December. So if it is, how much are we looking at? So, ooh, man, 512 premium case. We have partnered with AMD to create custom APU, optimized handheld gaming, Zen 2 RDNA 2 powerhouse, delivering more so you can do all your AAA games, your Steam library. So this is what I was talking about with this is what all your analog sticks, no matter what console, no matter what you get, all like full-on analog sticks look like this. The ones that are in the Switch are little mini versions of this, which is the reason why they're so kind of stubby. And I know that you can't see anything anyways, but like I said, that's because this cap right here just pops off, and then you have a little stick in the middle of it and that's what creates all your stick drift. You take that cap off, and then if the pin bends at all in this thing, or if there's like dust that can get into here, boom, stick drift will happen. The thing is, they haven't actually upgraded the design on these for like 20 years, so. Yeah, it's the normal stuff, but we're looking at roughly $650 for a 512, $650. So let's take off the inches. So an Acer Nitro is, I mean, with taxes implied, you're probably looking at almost $1,000 for like an Acer Nitro. What's the biggest laptops on the market here? All right, so the biggest laptops on the market would be like a Razer Blade at $1,000, almost $1,200. And of course, the prices are still through the roof with all the the cryptocurrency mining and all the shenanigans that have been going on. But an Acer Tough Dash 15 2021 model, about $1,000. So you're not exactly getting what these laptops would be doing. $1,000 to $1,200 for a laptop of somewhat of equivalent. I mean, these laptops would still be more powerful than that handheld unit. So again, you're getting what you pay for basically with this thing. About $750. You're getting, like $300 less of hardware in this, but if you don't want to pay that premium price and you just want to play some, like I said, you just have a little bit of an interest in PC gaming, or you just want to get like started in PC gaming, then yes, like I would definitely say that's a good price tag for a starter, especially for 530. And again, you can upgrade this storage space too, because some of the cards will actually go pretty quick along with that SSD. So expected order availability Q2 2022. Jeez. Yeah, because the way things are with the market right now, it's kind of ridiculous. But overall, I think this is a pretty cool unit. Keep your eyes out for it. Keep your eyes peeled on it and everything. There's a lot of different stuff. I mean, if you are one of the people that like to rip your ISOs off your old games and everything, you could do a lot with this that way too, especially with that dock station. You could have possibly a PS1, PS2, PSP, Vita. Oh, PSP Vita is basically one thing. Sega, NES, Steam, Epic Games Store. You could have all of it in one with this unit. Will it fully function and run perfectly? We don't know until we try it out, test it out. Because just because on paper it shows one thing, it does not mean anything until you use this unit. There could be an airflow problem with this or something, like something so small but affects it in a lot of different ways. Anything, that docking bay might not work properly or something. You don't know until you try it. So as I said, I would keep an eye on this. This could be actually really, really cool to play around with. Would I get this over a Switch? Yes. I just don't think Nintendo has, unless you are like diehard Nintendo through and through. I need to have my Nintendo. I mean, this does way more than the Switch ever even thought of. It's kind of like the Switch does way more than the Vita. This thing feels like it's doing more than the Switch. So it's like, the Switch outdid the Vita. This is outdoing the Switch. That's what it feels like to me. Like, everything's evolving on the mobile games front. And it's going to continue. Like, there's going to be another product that will outdo this one in a few years. It's just the way things work. It's the tech world. So, with all that being said, I think definitely I would recommend keeping an eye out on it. And yeah, go and check out the YouTube channels and everything for even more Let's Talks. I might do a follow-up video to this. We'll see if we get some cool looking gameplay that's run on this thing. I might come back to it and revisit it, but outside of that, yeah, going over the tech sheets and everything, it looks promising. So, anyways, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for stopping by. And as always, I will see you next time.